There are people in your life who have never met the real you, not because you lied to them, because you never let them close enough. You show everyone a version of yourself that is slightly more put together, slightly more okay, slightly more capable than you actually feel. And the terrifying part is not that they believe it. The terrifying part is that you have been doing it for so long, you sometimes believe it too. This is what it looks like. You walk into a room and something shifts. Not dramatically, just subtly. Your voice adjusts, your posture changes, a different mode activates. And you perform not because you are trying to deceive anyone, but because your nervous system learned that this version gets accepted, that this version is safe. You do it with friends who have known you for years and still somehow do not know the parts of you that keep you awake at night, the real ones, the uncertain ones, the ones that contradict the version they love. And then you come home, the performance ends, and there is something strange about that moment, because the silence should feel like relief, but often it just feels like absence, like you took off a costume and found that what is underneath is unfamiliar even to you. You are not a liar. You are doing something your brain learned very early in environments where authenticity had a cost, where being fully yourself produced friction or distance. Your nervous system built a solution, a version of you that navigated those environments successfully, a version that worked. Psychologists call this the social self. Carl Rogers called the gap between this social self and the genuine self incongruence. When the gap is small, life feels coherent. When the gap is large and the social self becomes the dominant performance, identity exhaustion sets in. Not physical exhaustion, the kind where you cannot remember what you actually want because you have been performing for so long you forgot to notice. Here is what is happening in the brain. The prefrontal cortex manages social behavior by suppressing responses that might create rejection. This is normal and necessary. But in people conditioned early to believe their authentic responses were problematic, the suppression becomes chronic. Chronic suppression of authentic responses is neurologically expensive. It consumes working memory, depletes emotional regulation, and creates a low-grade internal stress that never resolves. Think of it like running a background application on a phone. It is not the main screen, but always consuming battery. Over time, everything else gets slower. The first step is authenticity mapping. For 1 week, simply notice which contexts activate the performance. Not to judge it, just to see it. Research in self-determination theory shows awareness of incongruent behavior is the first neurological precondition for change. You cannot shift what you cannot see. When someone asks how you are, notice whether your answer is true or automatic. That observation alone is the beginning. The second step is micro-disclosure. Research on vulnerability shows authentic connection is built through incremental disclosure, not sudden revelation. You do not need to dismantle the performance at once. You need to introduce one true thing in one safe relationship, not your deepest fear, just something real. Your brain needs evidence that authenticity does not always result in rejection before it will relax the chronic suppression. One honest moment in one safe relationship is that evidence. The third step is distinguishing adaptation from suppression. Not all social adjustment is inauthentic. Adapting your communication style for different contexts is skillful. What matters is whether you are adjusting expression or erasing it. Ask yourself, not am I performing, but am I still present? If a conversation ends and you remember nothing of what you actually felt during it, that is suppression. If you remember yourself inside the exchange, even if you expressed it carefully, that is adaptation. Think of your authentic self not as a fixed thing waiting to be uncovered, but as a living process requiring practice in safe conditions, like a language you learned but stopped speaking. You have not lost it. You have simply been in environments where it was not useful. The solution is not a dramatic reveal. It is small, repeated practice in rooms where the language is welcome. There is a version of you that people love, and there is a version that is more complete, more uncertain, more contradictory, and more human. The work is not to destroy the first version. It is to stop treating the second version as something that needs to be hidden. Subscribe to Mad Psychology for more. And in the comments, tell me one thing about yourself that the version everyone loves never shows. You do not have to explain it.